Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the delay. The truth is, I need a new computer. Sometimes this one works, and sometimes it doesn't work as well. And I'm still very grateful. Um, okay, so this is a storytelling and a simple exercise that I am going to walk you through about turning overwhelm into options. So, just for a little bit of context about kind of how this emerged for me, actually, I just need to take a second. That was stressing out over my technological situation. Okay, you can do this too if that feels good for you, or some variation of it. Um, okay, feeling more present. So, okay, so hi, whoever's here. As you're arriving, you can just say hello in the chat. Maybe say a word or two of how you're feeling, what's present in your body today, maybe why you were interested in this topic. If I can speak to that, I will happily do that. I'm going to start by telling a little bit of context or story about how this the practice I'm going to share with you arose for me. Many of you were with me, kind of in my community and along for the ride about 5 years ago. When I had left Sky. There was a yoga studio that I had been a director for and co-director for about 7 years. And that my departure had been super tumultuous, really heartbreaking, involving big mistakes on my part that led to big consequences. So it was the summer after I had left, and hi there. Yeah, lots of stress in the body today. Okay. We'll hopefully spend a little time with that. And actually, even as I'm sharing, just doing the verbal part, love to welcome you to do a little self massage or do your own kind of wiggles or long exhalations with sound, anything that feels nurturing for you. So you don't just have to kind of sit and listen and be staring straight forward. So yeah, I had left Sky. I had applied to grad schools for the fall, but I hadn't committed yet. So my plans were fairly up in the air. I had started psychic school, so I was about halfway through that. But for folks who've been in any kind of container like that, I'm so grateful to have been in that container. And about 90% of that training is self-healing. So you are bringing up stuff basically every day to clear and work through and practice the techniques on. So it wasn't necessarily a relaxing experience. And one day in that time, it was around the summer. Hi, everyone. If you're new, welcome. You can just drop your say hello in the chat. Let me know how your body's doing. So one particular day, I remember feeling just super low, super disheartened, super overwhelmed with the sort of falling apart of the life I had spent the last 7 years building for myself, and wrestling with a lot of insecurity, like self-insecurity and self-doubt. I remember this one particular morning feeling my anxiety so high and feeling like of course I had like things to do, but I couldn't really identify any single thing that was felt like it was the most important. I didn't know where to start with what felt like an overwhelming realm of uh, you know possible to-dos to put my life back together or attempt to. But I did know I had a client later that day who was coming to me for, I don't even think it was a psychic reading. I think it was just like spiritual direction or spiritual mentorship, which obviously I felt no qualifications for providing at the moment whatsoever. But I had this person on my calendar, and that was motivating enough to have like a voice inside of me say something to the effect of, you got to figure this out. You got to figure something out, girl. Like, you got to pull it together. At least enough to show up for this client later on. So I happened to have this big sheet of poster paper, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have a real end result in mind, but I just laid it out and I drew, just kind of went with my gut instinct. I drew this giant image of a tree. And again, like, I didn't know where each step was going, but as I was started fleshing out the roots of the tree, I just started to write all of the things that I already have. Like, what were the things that were in my life already that, like, I just wanted to, I had this felt sense of just wanting to name and put down on paper all the things I already have. And once I finished that, I kind of fell into the trunk space and was like, what does the trunk represent? Like, what wants to happen at the trunk? And what came up was, who am I? Who am I already right now? And so I just filled in all these adjectives of who I am. I even had some little cards from people that former students and friends and colleagues, where, at the end of a circle or things, you write little nice things about each other. And I had a little stack of those affirmations from people in my life, and I stuck some of those on the trunk. And when that felt complete, I just kind of asked, like, okay, branches, what wants to happen at the branches? And I will say, up until I got there, I kind of had this thought, like, okay, when I get to the branches, it's gonna be where I decide what I'm supposed to do next. Like what are all the options of, like, the actions I can take, and, like, I'll be able to see it out. Like, I needed to kind of do a brain dump. Felt like I did, and see it written out, and then I'd be able to just know what was next to do. But when I got to the branches, what I was surprised to feel and to kind of hear was the question, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? And what that really meant for me was, like, what's coming out of, what's being shaped, what's kind of being called forth in me through these present, what I'm perceiving or experiencing as challenges. What's coming forward in me in these pressures, that's actually like a something I can hold up as a good, like a fruit being ripened in who I am in this time. So that was a pivot in the practice that I didn't really expect. I thought what I wanted was something like much more action oriented, but where the exercise guided me was still more in the I don't know, like, in the space of being. Yeah, like, who am I already, and what's being pulled forth? Who am I becoming through this process? So, having gone through it, yeah, I didn't have my, like, action plan to life recovery, but I did feel calmer. I did feel more connected to some different truths about my situation. And I felt grounded enough in myself to go see my client that day with just enough poise, like, not feeling like I had to totally brace and lie about my situation, lie about how I was doing. Felt like I could still be authentic, um, and show up for them. And to my surprise, again, when what I encountered with my client was, um, that she started to share with me some of the exact things I've been going through over the last couple of months, things I've been talking to my mentors, and my peers and my support system about in the immediate weeks prior to this time. And it really landed something for me. It really shifted something for me, that whatever I was going through, whatever I am going through, it doesn't have to be for nothing. It doesn't have to be suffering for suffering's sake. Um, I don't necessarily believe in, like, the kind of glorification or sort of martyrdom of suffering. Like, it will it has to have a reason or something. But in this particular moment, it helped to show me that even in what felt like, my worst season, it was still possible for me, just from by virtue of having been in the same place where this woman was, that almost that very day, and especially in that season, like, it was still possible for me to shine a little bit of light, or like cast out a little bit of the loneliness and isolation, that she was experiencing going through her thing. um, we don't have to be at the end of the road, um, in order to support other people along the way. We just have to be a little bit, um, generous with the light that we're using to shine our own path, right? Like, I don't know if this metaphor is going to last, but are going to track much longer. But I felt like I had just, like, generated some things that helped illuminate my own immediate sphere, and I could could share a little bit of that. I could shine a little bit of that, to someone kind of parallel with me. Um, so yeah, I felt like in that moment it helped me to be grateful in a way, or more calmly acknowledging of, the experience that I was having, like, that I actually could be grateful that it gave me something I could give to my client. Just enough inner strength, and just enough inner resolve, just enough purpose to keep going. So yeah, did solve all my long-term trajectory answers, but it was just enough sustenance. And, I'll connect it to something I would, experience later. I had that same process validated by another teacher, I worked with, named Lynn Twist, whose basic teaching is that when you appreciate what you already have, when you can really hold with genuine value and regard what you already have, it expands. And from that expansion, new possibilities arise. There's more to give, and there's more that overflows, returning back to us. So that's, yeah, just kind of the backstory I wanted to share about this practice. Um, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know enough to take the next right step. And I really feel like um, that reminder has helped me kind of undercut or cut through, overwhelm, and, attune to what's really present right now, right here, right now. And from there, something opens up most of the time. So, yeah, love for you to take a little wiggle, a little breath in and out, maybe a ha sound, and just kind of feel where in your body any of that is landing. And happy for you to share in the chat. yeah, any part of that story that, or can you relate? Is it just a yes or no, maybe? To make it easy. Can you relate to any part of um, that story? And then I'm going to walk us through this practice, and I really encourage you to do it right now with me, if you want to. Um, and I'll go through it again more slowly. I thought I had a pen. Here we go. Okay, so first you just need any pen and paper. You can get creative with it if you're of the artistic type, but I just have like a lined piece of paper here. And you can, I'll just invite you to draw a tree. It can be an outline of a tree. It could be um, any tree you want. But go ahead and take up the whole piece of paper so you have a lot of room to either write next to the pieces, or I like to make like my trunk and roots really thick so I can write in the space. So let's just go ahead and make a tree. And you at least want those three parts: a root system, or just a single root is fine, a trunk, and some branches. Okay. So feel free to take more time if you want, but there's my thick tree. And at this point, we'll just do, well, maybe I'll just ask, if you're watching, are you doing this exercise with me? And you can just say yes or no in the chat. And I'll know whether to like actually give you quality time to do the writing part, or if I'm just like kind of bookmarking it. Okay, great, awesome, good. I can't see your name, so sorry about that, but I'm really happy to be that you're joining me. So now we're going to take time first just with the roots. So if you, we'll take maybe about 1 minute. You can always fill in more later, but I will normally write the question right there in the roots. What do I already have? So what do I already have? And then, yeah, just fill in as much of the roots that you can want to. Some areas of like some additional prompts for those different areas might be, what meant like human allies do you have, mentors, friends, supportive family. So obviously that inner circle of human allies, but also human allies in the wider sphere. Any like more public teachers or authors, um, if you have mentors of any kind. I think I might have already said that. People who believe in you, or people whose work has been supportive to you, people who are kind of teachers for humanity, um, people who have passed, who are on the other side, um, who are visionaries, or people you have looked up to. Um, ecological resources, so anything that's beautiful, any of the plant friends and animal friends, anything. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, we have so much rich ecological nourishment, just the beauty that is present in almost a daily way. That's definitely something that's a current resource that's already present. Um, anything that's supportive, that you've nurtured, that's supportive in your life, like if you have a daily practice, or if you have a movement practice that supports you, if you have good habits around your food, or if you're a good mom, if you have good care for any parts of that like immediate ecosystem you're tending to, those are definitely things that you already have. Your personal gifts and charisms, like if you are a good cook, or you have a beautiful voice, if any if you have mobility, if you have like general health, or there are some parts of your body that are working, even if you experience other like physical challenges. What else? If you have access to healthy food, any of your personal qualities like courage or determination or empathy, anything along those lines. So I'm just going to be quiet for a moment and let you finish and fill that in. Actually, sorry, I will add one more, which is just material resources are not nothing also. And though maybe in like the spiritual world, you're not supposed to focus on that, but like having a home, having a bookshelf of books, I'm looking around my space, having things that bring you joy or bring beauty to your life. Those are definitely part of that root system. Okay. So you can definitely come back to the roots and fill out more, but I'll just invite us to move to the second section, which is the trunk. And the question there is, who am I? So who are you right now? Like what, if you were like the most, if you were your best friend talking about you on your birthday, about all the magnificent things that you are, what would you say about you? So all those qualities, and you may have touched on some of them in that first section, like the what I have, but this is uniquely focused on who are you already? Like what can you validate in your personhood that's present already? Like a few that I'll show you my mine that I had already completed. A few that I like to celebrate about myself are being expressive, being self-motivated to learn, to grow, having really clear communication and articulation skills. So those are just a couple. And you will know you the best. So let's take a minute to fill that section out. Okay. So as before, you can totally fill in more later if you come up with more, but let's just go for the last section. So the branches of the tree, who am I becoming? And this one might feel a little less obvious or a little more subtle to suss out, but I just invite you to kind of breathe or feel into your circumstances right now. And like under the current conditions, the current pressures, the current constraints, like what is it requiring of you? What is it calling forth in you? What attributes are being honed? What is it requiring of you to release? What are you having to let go of? Um, in the last time I did this was in actually in 2019. I did this for the sanctuary formation process. Um, and some of the things that I came up with here were I'm becoming more allowing of difference. I am becoming more comfortable in myself. I am becoming more honest with my flaws. I didn't know I wrote that. With my flaws and judgments. I am becoming more clear on my commitments. So those are some examples to get your creativity flowing around that. So let's just spend another minute or so there. Who are you becoming? Oh, great. Oh, last few questions you named are so saturated for me. Yeah, I actually wrote them all down. Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good idea. I could even just add those to the prompt. Do you want a little more time to write? Are you feeling complete or complete enough for now? Okay, great. You can always go back and fill it in. So the last piece I'll well, normally, so actually, yeah, I'll give you there's actually two next steps. The second to last one is just to take a second to look over what you wrote and see if there's a way, like kind of feel into each section. So what I have, just kind of scanning over all of the things you wrote and listen or feel for, is there like one phrase or one sentence that doesn't have to name all the things in detail, but like when you look at all of those things you have, what's kind of the bigger picture or the bigger truth about what you have? So if you had to sum up the roots in one phrase about what I have, what would that phrase say? And just write that down in the roots somewhere, or maybe in big letters um, in the roots somewhere. So if you're just joining now, I'm just helping folks through this process. I don't really have a name for it, but it's a way to shift from feeling overwhelmed to like you have options. And we drew a tree, and in the roots of the tree, we're writing down everything that I already have, everything I have. And now I'm just summing that up. And the same thing at the trunk of the tree. So if you're looking at just kind of scanning through what you already wrote, if you had to kind of sum that up in something that you already are in a big picture way, what do all those things say about who I already am? And you don't have to think too hard about it, but just write down a phrase, again, kind of in big letters. You can also come back to this point. So you're just kind of synthesizing each section into one phrase. And then same with the branches. So what do all of those point to? All of the things you wrote down, what do they point to about who you are becoming given the current constraints? Like, what is the big picture fruit that's being born, or that's ripening through the season of life that you're in? And just take a minute to not think too hard about it, but kind of let the words arise. Um, let the answer to that question arise. So by the end, I'll show you this version that I did. Well, this is just the one I happen to still have around. So by the end, you might have something that looks kind of like this, a tree with all of these assets and resources, the things you have, the things you are, the things that you are becoming in this season of life. And in this version of it, I'm actually kind of moved by what I had written in the first place. Like the big picture, or kind of the synthesis of what I have, was that I have a whole ecosystem at my back and roots. And who I am, this was actually a really sweet realization for me. I wrote all these things down and then I realized I actually love myself. This was in 2019. So, which was not always the case. That was not a given. But in doing this practice, I really got that sense. Who I am right now is someone who loves myself. Yeah. Okay, great. And then, yeah, so I'd love for you to write, if you want to share in the chat, and no pressure, but if you got your synthesis statements, what you have, who you are, and who you're becoming, I'd love for you to share if you want to. And that who I'm becoming, what I had here is I'm becoming a radiant source of joy and healing. And that, I remember writing this too, being like, wow, do I actually believe that? But I do feel inspired by that in that moment. I did feel inspired by that. And it it just opened up, kind of the bigger picture of what, one could say what spirit was making happen, in what was otherwise a really difficult and, overwhelming season. So that is the process, that I went through and that I still use to this day. I still take clients through that when they're just drowning in that overwhelm and paralysis of, not knowing what to do next, what to do first. Because once those things line up, um, what the very next step is reveals itself. And the practice that I'll do is just kind of feeling into those different qualities, saying those, sentences to myself, like at a real, like, felt level, and then just ask, what's the next right thing? What wants to happen next? Given that all of this is true, what's the next right thing to be in alignment with, the growth of this beautiful tree? Okay, So yeah, I love what you're sharing here. I'm supported by a queer ecology, human and non-human sources, but pretty fucking amazing. I am pretty fucking amazing, actually. Yes, I am becoming who the little one in me, oh yeah, has always wanted to be. Oh my God, I love that. Yes. Thank you so, so much for sharing that. That is so beautiful. I mean, write that down. I really did write it down, but like put that somewhere good where you're gonna see it and remember it. Because that is the that's like the self, that's like inner Gandalf or whatever. Like that's the self-coaching that we need sometimes to get us out of the cloud, to get us out of the the stuckness or the paralysis. So cool. I am so thankful that you went through that with me. And thanks for sharing where you got with it. So let me just pause. Yeah, I think actually that was basically all I wanted to share. So, any other questions or parts of your experience going through this process that you want to comment on? I'd love to hear about that. What did this feel helpful to you? So, if it felt helpful to just see you can just put a yes or no in the chat, or if there, what might be a way that's um, this could have been more helpful for you. If you have any ideas around sort of fleshing out the exercise, I'd love to hear that too. So other than that, that's all I had to share with you today, which it ended up going longer than I thought it would, but that was really sweet. Okay, yeah, heading back to work and revisit tonight because I'm transitioning and big things are happening in life. So the overwhelm feels big. Yeah, good. It reminded me of my resilience. Good. Yeah, please do revisit. Have a sweet day. And yeah, see everyone later. Bye bye.